Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Abuse Recovery Success. I have with me in the studio today Larry Smith. He is a life coach, he's a motivational speaker, an entrepreneur, strength and conditioning coach, and actually quite a big important part of my life. Larry has really become a part of my family, a good friend, and someone that I rely and count on quite a bit. And I was so honored and excited to have him agree to be a guest with us today on Abuse Recovery Success. He's going to share with us a story about really digging himself out of trials and tribulations that really leads him to be the motivational man that he is right now, because life isn't always easy for any of us. Whether you're someone that struggled with abuse, somebody in recovery, or you're just someone trying to get through life, this episode is certainly for you. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Larry Smith.
What's up, April? How are you doing?
Thank you for being here today. I'm so excited.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
This is awesome. It's nice to see you in your space. This is beautiful. And I am pleased to share my story and how I got out of a hole and converted myself back into the spiritual man that I am. You know, I fell into a deep rut within this year of COVID. And, you know, I didn't realize that I was going through this rut within COVID because, you know, I was going through it. I was in it. You know, when you're in it, you don't realize what's going on. You're just going in it every day. And being around so many people on a daily basis, you know, motivating, inspiring, you know, just getting in touch with people's emotions and their feelings and what they were going through COVID, that, you know, I kind of lost touch with, you know, myself. And, you know, with the churches being closed and, you know, that has played a huge effect in my life, because one thing about me is I am a spiritual man and I go to church every single week. You know, so my routine had changed when COVID hit. You know, a lot of routines have changed when COVID hit, but and a lot of blessings has happened when COVID hit. So, you know, there was a balance. It was a 50-50 balance, but, you know, within it all, you know, it was a struggle within myself, and I kind of fell off the deep end. When I say I fell off the deep end, you know, a lot of things have changed. Like I said, going back to, you know, my routine of prayer, my routine of church, you know, going to get fed every week and get poured back into, because I pour so much into so many people every single day. I give it all to everybody that I'm around on a daily basis, you know, from the training side, from the mental motivational side, from the energy, from the spiritual. You know, it's just so much pouring, and, you know, as I was pouring, I wasn't receiving, and as I was pouring, I was finding other things to pour back into me, which caused a lot of pain during that time. And, you know, when I was down, you know, I got into drinking, and I'm not an alcoholic by any means necessary. Yeah. And, you know, as things start changing, life experiences start happening. You know, I started drinking here. It started out with just a little bit of mimosas here and there, and then the one bottle of mimosa turned into 2 bottles of mimosas. 2 bottles of mimosa turned into 3 bottles of mimosas, and that's how it all started during the pandemic. Yeah. And as I'm not getting my spirit fed, you know, I'm going through different situations in my life, and, you know, one in particular situation that had happened with a really, really good friend of mine, who, you know, who betrayed me in several different ways, and, you know, we never really got clarity, but it came to a halt, and when I completely blacked out after that day, drinking several mimosas, probably 3 or 4 bottles of champagne that day, and then I just exploded, and vaguely remember, you know, me exploding on one of my really, really good friends, and, you know, and I felt bad the way it happened, but you know what? At that time, it happened the way it happened, and, you know, to this day, you know, we've seen each other and we forgave each other for that night. And as we kept moving on, more things started to occur within my life, you know, with the good things, the bad things. And so within my business thriving, and me pouring and pouring and pouring, and nothing pouring back into me. And like I say, I was pouring back into me with, you know, with alcohol at that point in time. Yeah. And then, you know, as that started happening, more things started happening. You know, and I never really realized why all these things was happening. And then, you know, I lost a business partner within this time, and, you know, when me and this business partner, we separated. You know, I never really got myself kind of face the mirror on that part, and, you know, that kind of was a lot of pain for me, because, you know, I helped so many people, and I choose to to give it all to everybody. And at this point in time, I wanted to give this young man everything. And then certain things happened there that it ended poorly. But at the end of the day, I always take the high road and be the big person at the end of the day. And as I did, but I never really got myself back spiritually. We're in the space that I was supposed to be in after experiencing all this. And so as I'm doing this, more drinking, more alcohol, more alcohol. And so as I'm doing this, I'm starting to realize, like, man, this is December. I'm starting to realize, why is all these things starting to happen? And then here comes the new year, when, that whole month of January was just, it was a lot, and there was a lot that has happened in the business. It was transitioning to the business. Things started going well in the business, but other parts of my life, I was failing miserably within my spirit. And so I was losing that spirituality slowly but surely. And I didn't know what was happening, why all these things were happening. So at the end of the day, I started feeling like not myself. Mm-hmm. And so when I wasn't feeling myself, this happened for a period of, this is now May. So now 5 months before I actually figured out what was going on. And I mean, there's several situations during this time that I just was not myself. I've acted upon several different situations as a different character, which is not the character that God has put inside of me. And, at the time of acting upon these things, I didn't know who it was. Mm-hmm. Because I was going through it. But at this time, I'm still showing face in front of so many people that I never really faced the man in the mirror or the man upstairs because I was afraid to. And so when I'm doing this, I'm still keeping my business going. I'm still showing face to people, but I'm putting on a front in people's face where when I leave, I'm like, man, what is going on? Something is off with me. Something is going on. I'm not myself. I don't know what is going on. And then some things had come to a scratching halt just 2 weeks ago, which made me really, really, really look in the mirror. And that was probably the lowest point that I've ever gotten in my life, was a situation that happened. And when I tell you, it destroyed me, almost destroyed my business. And I had to take a look in the mirror and say, yo, this is not you. Wait a minute. So at this time, I went and visited my kids, and I really, really got in tune with the man in the mirror. I mean, I was drinking at this time, throughout these past 5 months, I was drinking maybe, I'm going to say 4 bottles of tequila on the weekend. Yeah. And not when I'm saying 4 bottles because, once you drink two bottles at home and then you go to the bar and then you drink in more club or whatever the case may be, you buying more and more alcohol. And so over time, you look at the consumption of the alcohol, it's maybe about 4 bottles of 4 liters of tequila. Yeah. And amongst me and people, but I knew that wasn't me. I started calling off of work on Monday mornings. I start missing clients. I was late for clients, and as you know, I was late for your son one time, forgetting I even had a client. Yeah. I knew my business was going to shackles, and then even with me going to the transition in business at this gym, certain things happened there that just wasn't myself. And I knew I wasn't myself. My business was starting to fail miserably, and I seen it declining over time because my spirit was declining over time, and that's the reason why the business was declining over time, because I am such a leader, and as that devil and that bad spirit was within my spirit, it was taking over everything that I had going on. Yeah. And I just felt terrible. And when I'm late for clients, I didn't even care. I'm late. I'm 15 minutes late. It was just like, hey, I'm sorry, but let's just start training. And I'm like, yo, this ain't you. I would leave like, this is not you. At this point in time, I would try to listen. My routine is normally listening to gospel music in the morning, or listening to something uplifting, something spiritual that would lift my spirits in order for me to give it to others. I would try to it during this period of time. And I couldn't even listen to it. Like literally, I would play it in the morning, and I'm like, I gotta listen to something demonic. I need to put this in my ear, and I'm like, yo, this is not you. And I couldn't find it. Now I know this, but I'm at the time while I'm in it, I'm enjoying it. But at the end of the day, I'm like, no, this is not you. And then when everything hit a couple weeks ago, when my business really much almost got destroyed, and I had to go look at myself in the mirror. And I'm like, my relationship was starting to go crazy. My business was going crazy. And so it's like, okay, I'm going crazy.
Yeah.
And so I had to really, I went to go visit my kids. And, one day I hope they hear this, that, when I went to go visit them, that was more of like a spiritual getaway for me, like a retreat for me and them, and to get in tune with who I am and who this character, who this person was who was taking over my life. And, when I did that, I kind of I went into deep research on what could this be, and I researched say satanic attacks, and I realized that was what I was under. And I had deconverted myself from the spirit, which I am now back reconverted to the God. And so, like, I had deconverted myself throughout this time, and that's where all this stuff has happened. And then I'm looking at myself, and I researched this, and I realized who certain characters were in my life at that point in time. And one thing about that is people don't realize that when you are such of a leader or such of a man of God, and you are super high in the spirit, you are on attack, and people are sent to you as different spirits to pull you in and distract you in many different ways. And so I was able to see when I got to that point, who people were, who they played a part of in my attack that I was going through. And so when that happened, with the situation that happened, I had to take a deep look at myself, like, yo, this is not you. And when I did I did the research, and I realized what it was, and it was just like, wow, this is what's been going on. I've been under a major attack for a very long time. Certain situations that you have been a different person.
Sure.
And I just was like, throughout that time, I have not put nothing demonic in my ear. I haven't listened to no rap music or anything that's not of the spirit within to get me back full again. And who's to say will I go back? I don't plan to, but will I listen to it because of the environment that I am in?
Sure.
Yes, I will. Yeah. But will it be my choice of going through my ear? Nah, because I don't want to go back to that person. And believe it or not, all the stuff that we see, all the stuff we hear, it plays a part in our activity. It affects us in so many different ways, but we don't know it. And until you're able to face that mirror within yourself and all the wrong that you've done, you would never know what it is. And I'm thankful to be able to see that and to face that, because if I wouldn't, more things would have been destructed, and I would have been, my life would have been dead. I may have been alive, but my life would have been dead.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very thankful that I was able to get to this point. I'm thankful for God to get me to this point, and for him to be my leader, to come back to him like, thank you for pulling me out. Because if it wasn't for me having my faith, I never would pull myself out. And how many people are afraid to face that music within themselves? You know what I mean?
I love that you say it like that. One thing I am going to say just to my listeners, because I have, quite a bit of listeners that follow us for, the work that we do with trauma, the work that we do with addiction. This podcast is non-denominational in the sense that I support anyone and their belief systems, and we can all have different opinions, views. I do believe in God, higher power. Some of my listeners don't. But I think it's important that we do explore all the different avenues. And, one thing that I like that you're talking about, Larry, is the fact that when you're lost, being able to turn to someone, to something, to God is important, because often we can't do these things alone. And I feel like for me, why I was like, I need you on this podcast, was like, I came into the gym that day and I saw you, and the things that you said to me like hit me so deeply in my core, because I had been going through some things. And just like you being able to find that, like what you keep saying in this episode is man in the mirror, like looking at the man in the mirror. And it's exactly that. Like, how often can we not look at the woman or the man in the mirror? And your ability to confront all those demons and just like take it head on and then be accountable was super crazy to me, to be honest. And just how candid and transparent you were. But I think what I'd like you to tell the listeners more about is like, because it's like, okay, yeah, you went away, you went to see your kids. Like, what was the domino effect of that? Like, you knew going into that trip, like, I miss my kids. I got to see my kids. You're going for a purpose. How did it start? Like, because you mentioned to me quiet time things that how you found you again. Can you talk to us about that?
Yes. So that Sunday before I took my trip, I woke up in the morning after being extremely hungover, and I'll just put this out there. In the middle of the night that night, Saturday night, I woke up at night and I thought I was going to the bathroom, but I was using the bathroom in the laundry basket.
Dang. Yeah.
And I knew, I'm like, that next morning, I'm like, you gotta go. Yeah. You gotta go to us. You gotta get right. Something ain't right with you, bro. Yeah. Like, and that morning I woke up, I said, I need to go up to Sedona. My plan was to drive to Sedona, go to the prayer monument in Sedona, and just literally have some quiet time with me and God. Yeah. And that's when I knew it's time to get it together. And then I patched that situation up with continuous drinking that day after I knew it was time for me to confront what was going on. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I could not wait to leave. I could not wait to get out of here. And when I got out of here and I was on the plane, and just that time alone on the plane helped me reveal a lot of what was going on within myself. And that quiet time, that time within being able to check myself, because that's the hardest thing for us to do, is check ourselves. And for me to check myself on everything that I was doing and that I've done and that was wrong, I had to face it. And that quiet time helped me kind of see what was going on within me. When I was quiet, and it was me in the mirror, and it was me, within my prayer, and me doing my research, that quiet time kind of just opened up everything. But the main key to that quiet time is admitting. If you don't admit to the things that you've done wrong, you will never get the revelation of what you do, of where you're supposed to go, or what the problem is, which is one of the hardest things for us to do. So to all the listeners and the viewers here, I would say basically, when you look yourself in the mirror, admit to yourself everything that you've done wrong. It will break you. You will drop down in tears. You will feel empty, but you actually will feel so full because you kind of let go of everything that was going on within inside of you.
I love it. I'm just thinking of the broken and dropping down and getting away from all that. For me, I was thinking about alcohol and just that conversation you and I had where I talked to you and I said, every once in a while I do feel like, upset that, I can't drink like a normal person. And then I said, but the more I've been thinking about it, I don't think alcohol does anything good for anyone. And then that's when you and I started talking more. And the thing is, I'm thinking about these broken pieces and everything that you're saying. And it's like with alcohol, I believe alcohol is a demonic thing. It's poison. It's literally a poison. It's a chemical, and it's a poison that we ingest and trips us out and makes us do things and say things and triggers all these different chemicals.
Like using the bathroom in the laundry basket, thinking that you were going to the toilet.
It does. I can tell you the stories. Yeah, I've got a lot of stories for you.
Lord.
That would definitely, you wouldn't even know that it was me based on what you know of me. Like if you could have seen me drinking April, you'd be like, whoa. But it's that substance that we pour in to try to fix all these broken pieces. And all it does is eat us up from the inside out and cause us to do even more crazy things that make us feel even more shame and, contempt. But I think, what I really admire about you is your ability to recognize it, rather early on. I mean, I know for you it's months and months, but, for a lot of us it's not that long, like we've been through it for a lot longer. Right. And everyone has a different bottom. But so you're there and you're away, and what are you thinking? Like, so there's a listener right now that feels like, okay, maybe at one point I had kind of my life together, but I'm spiraling a little bit. I'm having a hard time keeping my head. Maybe they're even a little curious about this podcast, so they're listening because, I'm drinking a little bit, but I don't think I have a problem. What did you do when you were at home to, keep the faith, to keep strong, in those moments? Because a lot of times what happens is when we're confronting ourselves, we want to sweep it all away. So like, what did you do to fortify yourself in those moments besides, spending the time with the kids, which is always helpful?
Well, you know what? I listened to a bunch of different messages, and I listened to one message probably, I want to say at least 10 times.
Okay.
And as I listened to that message, and then as I was revealing all these things, I found different Christian rap artists that like I was feeding my brain with. And it's funny because a lot of the stuff that they were rapping about in their message was about a lot about what I was going through.
Crazy.
And I've never heard of these guys before.
Yeah.
And so now these guys are like some of my top artists I've been listening to every day.
Yeah.
But that kind of helped me kind of stimulate my mind to stay on the right track and really wanting to convert. Like I was driven to convert back to the leader that I know I am, the godly man that I know I am, and the person I am daily to myself.
Yeah.
Which I owe that to me and my kids to be the best man possible. So in order for me to own up and kind of stay straight was I had to, when I confronted myself, own up to it, and then I had to just go ahead and just be that person and hold myself accountable. Like, yo, it's over, it's pain, but you're gonna be all right. And so it's gonna take time, but feed your brain with the necessary tools to help you along the way, because if you don't, it's easy to go back. If you don't feed your brain with the positive, with the motivation that you need on a daily basis, it's easy to go back when you're hearing this demonic spirit and like this demonic stuff that's going on out here. Like, I mean, I'm just gonna give you one right now. Like the throat babies, you know what I mean? Like just when I think about that, so I think about that. That's what these people are listening to, throat babies, and people think that it's okay when they hear throat babies, throat babies, throat babies.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, but no, these people are forgetting about I'm a God baby, God baby, God baby.
Yeah.
It's a higher power baby. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead of stuff that's just so destroying them mentally, they don't even know that they're lost. And believe it or not, the most people that we listening to, they're lost.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So, and granted, I'm not perfect.
No.
I love music.
Mm-hmm.
I love it all.
Mm-hmm.
But in order for me to walk straight, I have to download my mind with nothing but positive words every day, affirmation and confirmation to keep me going straight. Like I said, the only time I've been listening to hip hop, honestly, other types of music besides motivation, and I like my smooth jazz and everything, and my R&B.
Yeah.
But other than that, I've been keeping my mind straight towards motivation and positivity. And that's the only way I can keep me straight as I'm taking this walk right now again. And like I say, I love music so much. Will I listen to hip hop or something? I probably will.
Yeah.
I never say I won't.
But yeah.
But my mind and my spirit is going to be so strong that I'm not going to let those words take over my thoughts, because that's what had happened. Even when I was losing myself, I let other things take over.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree. I feel like with, because you mentioned a lot, pouring out when you're talking about pouring into my business, pouring into this, pouring into that. So the ability to be able to feed yourself again.
Yes.
So I think what you're saying, and if I'm understanding it correctly, is when all your defenses are weakened, when you have nothing left to give, when for you it's the devil's entered, for whatever it is someone else wants to call it, when you feel like everything's falling apart, that's not the time to listen to certain kinds of things, or to even watch certain kinds of things. So like for me, towards the very end of my alcoholism, my last stint of heavy drinking, like I was always watching shows and reality TV and whatever. Like I'd be hungover, drinking a glass of white wine, watching the freaking TV, not doing shit for my business, not making life happen, not being the best parent I could be, just, and all that. That's a different kind of toxic, right? Crazy drama, whatever. So having that pour into me was doing no good for me. And now I agree with you, like, because, I was thinking about this the other day. It's crazy you're saying this. Like, I don't watch TV. Like, occasionally with the kids, I'll watch a show or a movie. But lately I've watched a couple shows, and then I got where I was like, am I being lazy and not working enough? And like, also, should I be watching that show? But at the end of the day, if you're strong, if you've got, if for you it's God, for what, if you feel good and and you want to maybe dabble in a little bit of these things, it's okay.
It's okay.
But what wanted to get to, Larry, is like, one thing my therapist said to me not that long ago is like, April, when you start waking up from the matrix, it's going to feel a little bit lonely. And you remind me so much of that, because for me, you've always emulated light, and this person that isn't really like everybody else. And
Right.
not to say that there is a normal and whatever, but
Right.
this man that is a man of God and that is, trying to spread light, kind to everyone, open,
Right.
honest, all these things.
Right.
So I think it makes sense that if the pandemic happened, all these things happened in your business, life is the drudgery, starting to use some alcohol, some substances, that you would feel kind of lost in that moment,
Right.
because that's not who you really are by definition. And
Right.
waking up from now it's like you're waking up from the matrix again. Maybe you weren't really a part of the matrix before you started to get sucked into the matrix.
Right.
So tell us about, like, okay, Larry comes back. He's back. You're fortified. You're doing these changes. Like, what are you doing to keep yourself strong? And, like, what do you want all the listeners to know?
Man, you know what? I'm back to my routine again.
Yeah.
I'm back. I actually started waking up at. So my number's been 444.
Okay.
And 444 means going in the right direction.
Okay.
You're going on the right path of your journey, and that's been a number that I started seeing years ago, all the time. All the time, and it was before Jay-Z's album. I started seeing this number. Okay, by the way.
I love it.
But and so I started seeing this number 444, 444 for years. When I came back home, as I'm making these changes, I said I'm gonna start waking up at 444, because I'm waking up at my first client is at 6:00 anyway, and
Gives you time.
it gives me time to get back into my routine.
Yeah.
So one thing about when you want to stay on the right track, what you have to find a routine. If you don't have a routine, find a positive routine that can help you stay on track, that can ignite the energy for your day and ignite the energy for the rest of your week, because that's key. When you want to try kind of walk straight, like, it's routine, and it's a positive routine. What gets you going? Find something positive to listen to in the morning. Find something. Pray. If you don't pray, put a podcast on. Put April's podcast on. And hear some of these stories from all these people that you had on here of what they've been going through, because they can actually motivate somebody and be like, you know what, I was doing this, but now I'm not. I can't do it anymore. So my routine is back to what it used to be. It's back. It's first thing in the morning. It's 4:44 now, which is the first time I've ever utilized that time to wake up. I hit that. That's my first alarm that goes off. I get up. I go ahead and get my day started with prayer right away. As soon as before I even get out the bed, I'm saying a prayer before I even step out the bed. And then when I get out the bed, for me, I'm listening to something. I'm listening to a word. I love my spirituals. I love D.D. Jakes. I love Joel Osteen. I now found Dr. Charles Stanley throughout this time when I was finding myself. And so I'm finding words. Whatever word comes up first is the word that I'm supposed to hear for the day. I'll put that on until it's time for me to go to work. I'm throwing on some gospel or a Christian rap artist that I'm listening to now to kind of give me positivity. And on my way to work, I'm actually saying a prayer that, hey, Father God, let me get through this day with strength. Let me get through this day with great energy, and let these workouts be so phenomenal for all these people that they'll leave here remembering what they just felt as an experience. And so I'm back on my routine again, which is good, and it's helping me kind of stay where I'm at.
Sure. What would you say to someone that is, like, maybe not in the past having major alcohol issues? Because I'm so happy that I'm not happy that you went through this, but I'm so happy that you mentioned how COVID kind of sent you into this weird pattern, because I've had a lot of emails, a lot of people contact me that didn't really struggle with drinking too much before COVID.
Right.
And that's something they've done studies, they've had polls, and it's a thing. So what would you say to someone that's like, okay, I never really had that much of a drinking issue. I'm using it right now too much. I'm worried about it. Like, what are you doing with alcohol? Like, what's your plan?
So, as I'm cleansing myself, it's funny because last night I was home and I was making me something to eat, and I had this nectar juice in the refrigerator. And I don't know if I'll ever go back to drinking. I never was an abuser.
Yeah.
So I can't say I won't ever go back to having an occasional drink here and there.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be a hypocrite like that. But I knew that it had got way too out of line and out of balance from within myself. So we had to control that, get back to the surface, get back to the source. And now I'm fine. Like last night, I had this nectar juice and I had this soda water. I kind of mixed them together and kind of made a little concoction where it was it was like a little like a drink. And I'm like, hey, you know what? This might be my new style, new style of drinking.
Yeah.
And that's between me and God, and I'm trying to working on within me, but I kind of like that, you know what I mean? I don't know. I don't necessarily need the shots. You know what I'm saying? That's not my style.
Yeah.
You know, and so, I mean, I have so much energy as it is. When I do drink, it just brings me down.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm quiet, and I'm not a quiet person.
Yeah.
So, like that drink last night was really good. So, like for people who are having these, find something that you can supplement alcohol with that has a good taste and a good flavor, where you can be yourself throughout the entire time, or when you're having fun and wherever you are. If you're struggling with alcoholism, or if you're struggling with knowing that you're drinking too much, but first thing first, you got to go cold turkey.
Yeah.
You have to go cold turkey.
Yeah.
There is no in between. There is no, hey, I'm going to go have a drink here. Maybe just one. You have to go cold turkey for a while and let your body kind of get
reset,
back, completely reset, let your mind reset. Yeah. But and then in that process, find something that, you know, you can supplement it with, that you're like, oh, this actually is not bad. You know, I have full clarity of myself. I have my mind. I'm in total control of over the night, and I'm still having a good time with the people I'm having a good time with. Yeah. So, you know, there are supplements out there that you can still act as if you're drinking, but you don't have to.
Well, I'm the queen of mocktails. You know,
see, I didn't even know they were called mocktails.
Yeah, they're mocktails, and I love them. But I'm also the queen of just sparkling water with a fresh slice of lime. But there's something to be said for being authentically who you really are. And earlier you talked a little bit about, you know, feeling like there was an imposter in your body. And, you know, someone running your life, pulling the strings that wasn't the man upstairs or really who you were deep inside. Yes. And for me, alcohol robbed me of myself being me. It denied me from being a woman of authentic character and just the essence of who I am. So, you know, I remind myself, and I say this to listeners because we do have a heavy, you know, addiction base, that, you know, it's not worth it ever to imbibe alcohol or take a substance and lose our sobriety. And there are so many options for us out there. And for those of us that are tuning in that, you know, you're struggling just in the moment, I think Larry's recommendation of doing that reset and taking that break and feeding your soul some good stuff is absolutely essential. And then only you can decide down the road if this is something that you can revisit or if it's something you can't. Because if you're an alcoholic like me, you can't revisit it, because I've been there, done that, in and out of rehab facilities, treatment, and I always go back to the same dark place eventually, whether it takes time or not. And if you've tuned into our podcast, you know that. But Larry, tell us a little bit about what's on the horizon for you now with all these changes. So
I'm going to tell you about that in a second. Okay. Let me tell you about something else that I did. That for me, and people who do have that bad addiction, you know, you kind of got to just get rid of it away from you, and, you know, you don't even need to see it. Yeah. But, you know, one thing that I did within myself, and I told myself this, I said, you know what? You're going to punish yourself. Yeah. You're going to see it. I hid it in my closet. Yeah. I put it away. I have these angry orchids in the orchards in my refrigerator. I do not touch it. Yeah. I do not touch it. And I did that for myself for power. Yeah. You know, because having that, if I was that addicted to it, I'm going to go grab it.
Oh, I do that with cookies and candy. Because I can do that. I have a little shelf, and I say, not right now, not today, not today, Oreos.
Yeah, so, like, I did that, and, like, honestly, like, last week, I mean, it's been there, and I don't even think about it. Yeah. Like, I didn't even think about having anything last weekend, which was amazing, you know, and so we're waking up with clarity, you know, it felt good. But
and strength.
And strength, yes, every day, every day. So, back to your question.
Yeah, what's on the horizon?
On the horizon for me, man, I'm just, you know, I'm getting ready to start launching everything that's been on hold. Okay. Everything that's been on hold. I have a lot of different companies and other ideas of entrepreneurship that's been sitting on hold, because one thing about when you have a creative mind and you want to accomplish a lot of things in life that, you know, is within you to accomplish, they will not be accomplished until you're right inside.
Yeah.
They'll sit there on hold until you're ready,
Yeah.
until you convert. Mm-hmm. And if you don't convert, those won't convert.
Yeah.
So now that I'm ready, now that I'm converted, it's time to convert all these different, entrepreneur modalities that I have sitting here waiting to ignite people's life. Because everything that I have sitting outside of the gym, the new gym that I'm looking forward to opening, I have a brand called Winergy that we've spoken about several times. Yeah. I can't give Winergy when I didn't have Winergy inside of me.
Yeah.
What is Winergy? It's winning energy.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
And that's a whole company that I can see, being sold to like a Coca-Cola or something, where they might want to start an energy drink, a Winergy drink. So all these different, entrepreneur ideas that I have just sitting on hold.
Well, you are a man on fire, but when you're in that space, you're not going to be creating,
No, you will not.
You're just not. And I remember for me, because I think if I hadn't stopped drinking when I did, I would have lost my business. I think in a few more weeks, I was pretty screwed at the point I did decide.
I was close to it.
Yeah. And so,
So
for me, I heard in AA somebody say, I got tired of sitting in the bar stool talking about all the things I was going to do and not doing any of them.
Right.
And that was me complaining about things, talking to people, not doing anything. And it's crazy because once you free that up and you heal, the things that you can make happen are tremendous. So I love that you've taken those things off the back burner.
No, for sure. It's time to unleash the beast and have nothing but fire.
I like it, Larry.
For real, it is. I mean, because one thing about the motivation with me is it's driven by my spirit.
Yeah.
It's all driven by my spirit. Mm-hmm. So when I'm coming in and I'm hungover, you can't do that stuff, man. You can't even create, Yeah. So, it's been awesome. I wake up and I create workouts. Honestly, I create my workouts in the morning for everybody the time I wake up in the morning.
Yeah. So if you had to define who you are today, right now, coming back from this retreat and figuring out everything that you have, who is Larry Smith today, at your essence? And how can listeners find you, follow you, what if they want to see what you have to offer and what's coming up?
I am pure motivation, pure energy, and pure inspiration. Okay. And that is who Larry Smith is, and that's who I will continue to be, and that's what I'll continue to produce throughout the world. All the followers and viewers can follow me on Instagram at Larry Smith Fitness, or you can go to my website, LarrySmithFitness.com. Mm-hmm. Also have a YouTube page now that I'm going to start igniting some dope things, which hopefully we can put this podcast on my YouTube page so people can see this. It's at Larry Smith Fitness on YouTube. And stay tuned for our new gym that we're going to get ready to open up. The name is TBA, but if you follow me, you will see the new gym we're getting ready to ignite.
I love a good mystery. That keeps us on the edges of our seat.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Larry, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, April. Yes. It's good to be in the seat across from you today.
I know, right? I'm so excited. It's been great.
Yes, me too.
And then for you listeners out there, I know that Larry has probably motivated you like he does me on a regular basis. And if you're looking to kind of catch up with us and find out more about this podcast, you're going to find us on abuserecoverysuccess.com, or you can find me on TikTok or Instagram at April_the_hills, or you can follow our YouTube presence on April Hill. Thank you guys. Have a great rest of your day, and I hope this episode left you as motivated as it did me.